Happy Monday. Woo. We are here together again. Happy Monday. Listen, I say this every week, right? And it's so true because the Mondays just be like, shoops. It'd be like, before you know it, it's Monday. It's like, Monday, you know. So good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy Monday to you all. Happy Monday. It's time for prayer for marriages. And we are here again. Myself, Evangelist Nikki, is celebrating, her and her hubby is celebrating their anniversary. All right. So we just want to wish them a happy, happy, happy anniversary. Happy anniversary to you both. May the Lord continue to bless and keep and cover you both in this new season, this new time of celebration. Enjoy yourself, relax, and just enjoy yourself. All right. So we're just giving God thanks for you and everybody that's watching. Those of you on YouTube, welcome. Those of you on Facebook, welcome, 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 welcome. It's good to see you. Good to be here. Listen, call somebody and share this broadcast with them. Let them know that we are on and we are gonna doing again. We're gonna be still be talking about, the potentials, the warning sign, the potential warning sign in your that your marriage is in trouble, right? And I know sometimes we ignore the signs, and human nature, we ignore the signs because we don't want to cope, we don't want to face reality sometimes, and we say, oh, it's not what it seems like, or it's not what it is. But I just want to give God thanks tonight because God is just such a good God. All right. And so tonight, again, we're on the topic of sorry about that, potential warning signs that your marriage is in trouble. All right. And so I'm just happy to be here with you on tonight. I'm just sharing the broadcast out, and so that others can join in. All right, that's what I'm doing. And if you're on, please go ahead and share. And if you're watching the replay, we want you to like, comment, and share. And listen, somebody who they're having some kind of issue in their marriage, and there are warning signs that are there. They may not see them, they may not accept them, but the signs are there. Okay, so we just want you to invite a friend, tell a friend that we are on. All right. Again, I say Evangelist Nikki, her hubby is celebrating their wedding anniversary. All right. So we just want to give God thanks for them again. Also, we just want to just continue to say thank you for your support over the years. Thank you for what you do, what you've done. You know what? I just want to appreciate you all for whether you've commented, you've shared, you've liked, and you just support us in any way that you possibly can, the best way that you possibly can. So we're talking about tonight the potential warning signs that your relationship, your marriage is in trouble. So tonight we're going to talk about one aspect of, a potential warning sign is that you're having an affair. Yes, you're having an affair. You're having an affair. And listen, let me tell you this, right? When you have affairs, you're saying that you're lacking something in you and or your relationship, right? And so what I want to encourage you tonight is when you if you feel like you need to have an affair to satisfy a particular need, and it doesn't have to be sex, because we sometimes we get our one of our talking points tonight is going to be talking about when you're emotionally relying or attached to another person, right? And so you tend to you know attach to them for a particular reason, and most of the time somebody say it's sex, but no, it's not necessarily sex. All right, so that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. All right, the potential warning sign, and this is part 4 that we're doing. Right, this is part 4. This is 4 weeks. We're 4 weeks in, and we just want to encourage you just to pay attention to the signs. Now, these are not all the signs, but these are the most common signs that we tend to ignore or overlook. All right, so you're having an affair. Now, it's perfectly normal to find someone other than your partner attractive, right? It's normal. You're yes, your spouse is the most handsome or the most beautiful woman in the world to you, but there are other persons that may be attractive, and that doesn't, because you find somebody that's attractive, that doesn't mean you really necessarily want them, but you see them, they're attractive, unless you begin to now intertwine, intermingle, interact, and then things develop. Then we have to be very, very careful and mindful. All right. And so now, according to relationship experts, after all, entering a relationship does not switch off your normal biological function. So just because you're married doesn't mean that you're blind or you're deaf or you're mute, right? And I know sometimes my husband and I may be out and he's like, she's a very attractive young lady. And I'm not like, yeah, she is, or her hair is nice, or that's a nice dress, or the dress compliments her. You know, I feel good when he does that. You know what I mean? That lets me know when he looks at me, he's gonna see those things, and he does that. Listen, when I get dressed, my husband be like, "Babe, you look so good." You know what I mean? He acknowledges, how good I look, and if it's something that he don't like, he acknowledges that too, right? But most of the time, it's good. So we're talking about potential warning signs that your marriage, your relationship is in trouble. However, now if you constantly have sexual thoughts about another person, and we're talking about sexual thoughts now, and you take actions on those thoughts, it's a signal, a deeper issue, with your current relationship. You're in trouble, right? It may be that you're missing something from your spouse. You may be lacking intimacy, and we spoke about that. You may be lacking intimacy, and a lot of times we equate intimacy to sex, and it doesn't have to be. It may lead to sex, but intimacy does not mean sex all the time. All right. You may lack affection or attention, right? Like my husband floods me with attention, and likewise, right? I'm constantly blushing when my husband is talking to me, and he's like, "What's the matter?" Right? Because he gives me that healthy attention that I desire, right? And so he knows my love language, and he feeds it. He feeds it. When I tell you he feeds it, right? And when you lack those things from your spouse, like intimacy, affection, or attention, you're hoping for them to give it to you. You don't want it to come from someone on the outside, right? So some affairs are simply about sex, and some affairs are simply about a talking point, a listening ear, somebody that you become attached to. We're going to talk about the emotional attachment next, right? While it might feel good in the moment to have another person meet your needs, it's often a distraction from addressing issues within your marriage. Yes, so your sexual needs may be met, but then there are other issues that's going to arise that you're going to need, to discuss. And listen, sex sometimes, or sex for the most part, tend to block our what I want to say. It blocks our rationale in thinking, because some people just think that if I satisfy that flesh, that it's going to take away everything, right? No, it creates other issues, and you don't want that. You don't want that. You want to be able now to be able to discuss and talk about the issues. If you're lacking intimacy, you should be able to say, "Babe, I want some time with you. I want to spend some cuddle time. I just want to spend some time with just us sitting and maybe watch a movie, and just no gadgets." Remember, Evangelist Nikki talked about the social media thing, right? And so our social media have taken over every aspect of some of our relationships, and it's not healthy. So we tend to now tend to want to you lack intimacy, because that part of you're giving attention to something else, right? And so if you want affection from your spouse, give it. Now, Evangelist Nikki, we talk about that, whatever you want from your spouse, make sure you're giving it. So if you're wanting intimacy, give it. If you want attention, give it. If you want affection, give it. That which you require, make sure you're also giving it to your spouse. All right. Now, sometimes when man or woman is going through menopause, or the man now has some kind of illness, so now he's suffering from erectile dysfunction and don't know how to discuss it. And that's why communication, effective communication, is so important in your relationship. talk about stuff. Talk about it. And ladies, we notice, right? You notice if things is up and all of a sudden it's not functioning, have a discussion. Go to the doctors. Don't be afraid. Even if as a female, if you're experiencing dryness there and and you need to be lubricated, ask your OBGYN. Ask them what is happening with me? What's going on? What can I do? So a lot of times we tend to not discuss things or talk about things, or we sometimes pride or we feel ashamed to say, you know what, I'm not in the mood, and the way we say it, because we're irritable, it causes another issue. So if you're having any kind of issue with your being sexual with your partner, it behooves you to let them know, right? Let them know. Don't just keep it a secret, right? Because and don't just go outside the relationship now, because that's going to be another issue, right? And so we're also going to, if you're involved in an emotional affair, let me tell you something. If you are relying, that's the next talking point, how you know your marriage it's a warning, potential warning sign that your marriage is in trouble, that you're emotionally relying on another person. That's a danger zone. That's a red zone. That's a beep 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 that you need, and you need to you need to really, really, really seek some counseling, right? Seek some counseling. While it's healthy to have emotional bonds outside of your relationship, now we're talking about healthy emotional attachment, like your parent or your children, your godchildren, other relatives, right? It may be a sign also of a struggling marriage if you're constantly venting about your partner to your child or your best friend, for instance. Now, Lord have mercy. Listen, ladies, we know we vent. Men, you vent to that person. But if it's the person of the opposite sex that you're constantly venting to, after a while you're going to develop some kind of emotional attachment, because that person is going to soothe you, right? That shoulder that you're leaning on is going to become a pillar, and listen, it may not be healthy. It will not be healthy. Blessings to you, Lady Millicent, right? And so, listen, if you're not addressing these issues with your partner, is in a setting where you both could actually work on them, like in a therapy session, right? If you're not addressing the issues there, then there's a problem. I, as a counselor myself, I often begin to wonder why persons don't like to talk to each other when there's an issue, right? When an issue arises, don't sweep it under the rug. Speak about it in the now. If you're able or have the mental capacity to address it now, address it. Don't wait, because when you wait, it tends to brew and then it begins to burn. So you want to be able to address the issues as they arrive, or when the time is right. And don't put it off for too long, because sometimes you put things off for too long and then it spoils, right? It spoils. So if you're emotionally attached to another person, listen, you're in trouble. If you find that you're dumping the negative emotions about your marriage onto someone else, it's a sign that your marriage isn't as strong as it could be, right? Now, how can my marriage get strong? Communication. When I tell you, listen, communication is so important in every aspect of our life. Effective communication. A lot of times there's a lot of miscommunication, a lot of misunderstanding. Something is said and it's misconstrued, especially through text sometimes. Because I don't know about you, but I read text in the person's voice, right? Because I know the person's voice and I'm reading it in their voice. And sometimes you know the tone of the text. Sometimes they're screaming. Sometimes they're being sarcastic. Sometimes they're throwing shade. So we need to discuss things. Open communication, verbal communication, effective communication is so important, and it's so necessary, because guess what? When you don't communicate effectively, you leave your partner to guess and to think and, oh my God, what's going on? Did I do the right thing? Did I say the right thing? How did I upset them this time? So we need to communicate our problems, our issues with our partner or with someone that's going to help to resolve the conflict that you're having in your relationship. All right. Listen, I'm trying to tell you that I didn't always know how to talk effectively or communicate effectively until I started studying, when I was in school, right? And because I just had to have my way. If it wasn't my way, then oh, I don't want to hear it. You know, y'all don't leave me out here to make it seem like I'm the only one that who used to want to have her way. But with maturity now, I realize that listen, girl, you can't have your way all the time. It ain't all about you. It's not about you all the time. And sometimes we want it to be about us, ladies. Tell the truth. We just want it to be about us. Help me tonight, Lord. We just want it to be about us. And guess what? It's okay. It's okay to get your way sometimes, but don't let it be that you just mistreat your spouse because you're emotionally attached to somebody else. Get back that emotional attachment to your spouse. How about you do that? Get back that emotional attachment to your spouse so that you can communicate to your spouse, that you don't have to worry about things not working out. Listen, and I'm going to say this, and a lot of times when I say stuff like this, person may feel like, oh, she's going off. No. Sometimes we want to pray about everything. Yes, pray about it and then address it. Speak with your spouse. Blessings to you, Dr. Hope. The blessings to you. A lot of time we take everything to the Lord, but there's some things that we need to take to our spouse as well. Look, things don't seem right with me. Is everything okay with you in the relationship? How do you think we're doing? Talk about these things, discuss these things, because guess what? At the end of the day, it's you and your spouse. You are a team. So if you can collaborate and speak with your other team member, then something is wrong. Looking to find out what is going on with the relationship. Listen, when I tell you talking things out work, if you can't sit down, if you can't sit down and have healthy communication with your spouse, then that's another sign another potential warning sign that your marriage is in trouble. Some persons will tell me, Pastor Clovetta, that listen, I can't talk to my husband, I can't talk to my wife. Why? Now, sometimes there's some hard issues that need to be dealt with, but you have to have those hard conversations, right? Yes, Dr. Hope. When we pray, God response will be go talk to your spouse. Listen, let me tell y'all something. God is personable. God knows how you are. He knows how I am. He knows how we are. He knows us. He knows us. The very hair on our the very hair on our head, he numbers, and he knows how many hair that we have on our head. So he knows us. He knows what makes us tick. He knows what causes us to go on a rampage, right? So we have to make sure that when we speak to God, he's going to listen. Let me tell you. And I think I mentioned this before. I remember one time I was so upset with my husband. I don't know. I don't remember the issue, but I know I was upset with him. It's been a minute now, so I can't really remember. But I know I went to God about him. Dr. Hope. I was telling God about my husband. The and I finished telling God about my husband. The next thing I know, I saw a picture of myself come up. I said, Lord have mercy, right? I saw a picture of myself. What does that tell me? Deal with you, Marcia. Deal with you. Sometimes we are the issue. Sometimes we are the potential warning sign in our marriage is in trouble. Sometimes it's us. Sometimes it's us. And but we tend to deflect now and pass it over to our spouse to say they're the problem when we are the problem. So guess what I did? I looked in the mirror and I worked on Marcia. Guess what happened now? things are good, right? Because I worked on Marcia. Blessings to you, Pastor Cydia, right? Yes, some things are just common sense and reality. I'm not getting why some persons don't like speaking to their I love talking to my husband. Sometimes they're like, babe, okay, all right now. You know, but I love the communication with him. I love talking to him. I love addressing issues with him. Listen, when things come up, he doesn't like, he say, babe, can I talk to you? We need to talk. I need to say something to you. And I'm like, okay, babe. Now listen, I know the warning sign. If my husband say, Marcia, oh, I'll be like, oh, ooh, what did I do? And I start thinking in my head now, what did I do now? What did I do, right? Listen, let me tell you something. When he say Marcia, I know I'm in trouble, right? He don't say that too often, but when he does, or if he has like a serious decision that, he's contemplating and he's like, Marcia, I need to talk to you about something, let's collaborate and put our heads together on this, right? And that's right, Pastor City, your husband is supposed to be your best friend. Listen, can we be gossiping with my husband? Yeah, girl. I mean, I'm gossiping with my husband because guess what? I tell my husband everything, right? And vice versa, right? Hey, Ralisa, how are you? Right? And so a lot of times now we tend to always want to go and rely on somebody else emotionally. That's too much work and stress. That's way too much work. That's way too much stress now to have somebody else that you're involved with. Listen, no. That's a potential warning sign that your marriage is in trouble. That's a potential warning sign that your marriage is in trouble. All right. The next thing we want to talk, listen, listen, while everyone complains, everybody complains from time to time, right? Depending on someone else to fix your marriage for you won't work. Listen, you have to put the work in. You have to be ready to work. I remember some time ago, a young lady inboxed me on Facebook, and she's like, because she's watched the program of over time, and she's like, Evangelist, I want you to help me pray pray for my marriage. Pray. She want me to pray for her marriage. So I said, when you're ready to pray, I will pray with you. Yep. Yep. Dr. Hope, I said, when you're ready to pray, I will pray with you, right? Because I want to pray with you. I don't want to be just praying for you. Now, I will pray for you once I'm praying with you, but you also have to pray and put in the work. Listen, I equip you with the equipment, the things that you need to foster your relationship to be healthy and for you to be able now to work on your issues. I can't do all the work. Because if I do the work, it's going to help my marriage, not yours, right? And so this is why you need now to make sure that you're putting in the work. Marriage is work. Yes, marriage is peaches and cream. It's smooth sailing, but there's some hills and valleys. And when you're in the valleys or even on the hill, you need to keep working. Don't. We tend to be so relaxed when things are on 100 and we're just so excited about what's happening. You know, we tend to slack on working, but marriage, you got to constantly be working on yourself and to make your relationship better. Listen, I know my relationship can be better and I'm working on it, right? I'm working on it. Do we have issues? Just the basic everyday, maybe disagreement here or there, but nothing major. Thank God, nothing major, because we're always talking, right? We're always talking, and when you're always talking and communicating and saying, I didn't like how you said that, and that made me feel some kind of way. And when you're talking about it, the more you talk about it, your partner gets to learn what to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do. So communication is essential, right? Yes, Dr. Hope, we must pray for who we should. Yes, we need to pray for who you should talk to about your marriage, right? The wrong person can jack you up. Listen, let me tell you something. Me personally, this is just my opinion. If you're single and has never been married, or you're not in a healthy or successful relationship, I don't think a married person should take advice from you unless you're a trained counselor now, because there's a lot of trained married counselors who are they're single, but they're trained into marriage counseling and marriage therapy, right? So yes, you can speak to them. But if it's just your single girlfriend or your single guy friend, you should not take relationship advice from them, especially if they're not in a successful relationship. Listen, most of the time, most people whose relationship are not successful, they're not going to give you good advice. Lord help me tonight. They're not going to give you good advice. They're going to, the first sign of trouble that you have in your marriage, and you go to them, they're going to be like, oh, leave them, leave them. No, that's not the answer. That's not the answer. That's not the answer. Now, right? I'm going to talk about this last point before we go, right? Now, if there's abuse in your marriage, Lord help me. No, no matter what the abuse, it's never okay. That's another potential warning sign that your marriage is in trouble. If there's abuse of any kind, abuse is never okay. It's never okay for you to be abused verbally, physically, emotionally, financially. Listen, spiritually. Yes, I gotta there too, right? You say, how can I be abused spiritually? How can my spouse abuse me spiritually? By using the word of God to abuse you, to control you, to make you feel like you're less than. Listen, Lord help me tonight, right? So spiritual abuse is just as bad as emotional, physical, financial abuse where you have no control over your finances. Listen, let me tell you something. Financial abuse is running prevalent. It's running hot, evangelist. Hey, in the marriages where one the husband or wife wants to be in total control of the money. Listen, that's abuse. Where you're working and you can't spend your money. I'm not saying blow all your money, but you have to ask them for money if you want to go buy some ice cream. And I'm just saying ice cream. I'm just using that, right? As an example. If you're working, your spouse should not just have total control over your finances unless that's what you allow. Unless you allow that, then that's okay. But if you don't allow that, then that's abuse. Financial abuse, when I tell you it's on a high alert in so many relationships, right? Yes, or not paying a bill. That's abuse. That's part of financial abuse. You're leaving everything on one person to pay. That's abuse, and that's not healthy, right? Physical abuse, domestic violence is never okay. Listen, let me tell you something. I'm looking at the researches, right? The research that shows the percentage of men that are being abused in their marriage. Yes, the men. It's almost at a 50-50 rationale where the men are being abused. The women are now abusing the men in a relationship. Let me tell you something. It's not only the women that are going through domestic violence, but the men are too, right? And so it's a lot of times we hear about the females who are being abused, but we tend to now not normally hear about men that are being abused. But that ratio is that percentage is getting higher and higher each time I look at the stats. It's really troubling. It's really troubling because women are fighting these men nowadays. I don't know where they get the energy from, and I don't know what type of men they're fighting, but they're fighting their husbands, right? Um, you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? Let me tell you something. Be mindful of what you're trying to listen. I can't keep up with nobody. Listen, I can't hardly keep up with myself, much less to keep up with somebody. Listen. My mom always say, "Don't hang your basket where you can't reach it. If you got to stretch up and get on a ladder to reach it, it's up too high." Listen, be yourself. Be yourself. That's a potential warning sign that your marriage is in trouble. Any kind of abuse, physical, emotional, financial, spiritual, verbal. Let me tell you something. No abuse is good, right? Whether the abuse is physical, is verbal, is emotional, or even sexual. Let's put that one in there. Sexual abuse is never. Listen, I hear a lot of persons say, "Oh, that's my wife, that's my husband. I can that their body don't belong to me." Yes, you're right, but guess what? If I say no, it's no. I rarely say no. But if I say no, then my husband know that if something must be up, why I'm saying no. But if there's an issue, if you're being sexually abused in your marriage, that's abuse. You need to report it. And I know a lot of time persons won't report it because they'll say, "How is it proved? That's my husband, that's my wife." But sexual abuse is also high. It's way up there on the percentages of abuse in marital relationships. Yes, sexual abuse. My God. Listen, let me tell you something. You will be surprised. So you can check the stats if you don't believe me. But I'm just telling you, abuse is abuse. Now, if you know anyone that's being abused, right, make sure, please call the domestic violence hotline at 1-800-799-7233. And this is a confidential call. Also, if you're being abused of any kind and you need help, you need to speak to someone, please reach out to me, Marcia Baker Ministries at gmail.com, and we will do a consultation and then we will take it from there. All right. But yes, Dr. Hope, it's rape. And so many wives, so many husbands are being raped in their marriage. Let me tell you something. It's important to seek help right away. Don't let it linger. Listen, do not, especially the sexual abuse, do not let it linger. Don't let it linger. If you're being essayed in your relationships, please get some help. Don't let it linger. Report it right away. If you're living in a home where domestic violence is taking place, if, say, for instance, you're sharing a house and you hear the person, one of the persons, the husband or the wife, crying for help, seeking help, call the cops. If you live in an apartment building and you hear your neighbor, if you live in a development and you hear them all, somebody always screaming, "Help, help, help, help," please report it. Because listen, if I was being abused and my neighbors didn't say anything, I would be looking at them funny, right? I will be looking at them funny. You cannot just stand by there as a human being and watch somebody else be abused. Listen, call 911. Report it. Now, if you don't want to call 911, you can call the domestic violence hotline at 800-799-7233, and it's confidential. Nobody will know what's going on. And guess what? You will be talking to trained counselors, or you can even email myself, Marcia Baker Ministries at gmail.com. All right. Listen, if you can try and create a safety plan to get to a safe space, such as a friend or family, if you're being sexually or physically abused. But listen, sometimes persons, and I want to say this right here. Thank you, Dr. Hoop. I want to say this right here, right? A lot of times when persons are being emotionally or verbal abused, they tend not to say anything. And guess what now? After years of being emotionally and verbally abused, it messes with your mental capacity. It decreases your self-esteem. It depletes your self-worth. You become a shell of yourself. So you don't want to either take emotional or verbal abuse. Lord help me, Jesus. You don't want to take that. You don't want to accept it. Make sure you can reach out and speak to someone and say, "Hey, I'm being emotionally and verbal abused. What do I need to do?" This is why you need to really have a counselor in your Rolodex. If you don't want to have one, you can put me in there, right? You can put me in your Rolodex, all right? And so, yes, it breaks you. That verbal abuse and that emotional abuse, they tend to isolate you. Isolate you so that they can verbally abuse you. So then now you're so ashamed now to go to your family and friends, your family or friends, to say, "Listen, hey, I'm being verbally abused, I'm being emotionally abused," because it is embarrassing. Especially, Lord have mercy, especially if you're married to a narcissist. Lord help me. If you are married to a narcissist and they're emotionally and verbally abusing you, it's hard to prove. Because that person will gaslight you in private, and in public they will treat you like you're the queen, but until they get you alone. So the people on the outside would just think that, oh, nothing is wrong. Especially if you now don't say anything. Especially if you're always wearing this mask where, oh, everything is good and everything is fine and we're not having any problems. Once you start reporting the verbal and the emotional abuse, that is challenging to prove. It's very challenging. Listen, yes, Dr. Hope. Listen, that's a warning sign. It's not potential. It's a warning sign. This is not even a potential now. Anytime anyone, if the wife or husband or vice versa, is isolating you from your friends and family, that's a warning sign that you're in trouble. If they're trying to tell you, oh, you don't need to speak to this person, or you don't need to go to your mom's house, you don't need to speak to your cousin, you don't need to speak to your sister, you don't need to speak to your other siblings, that's a warning sign. That's a huge sign that they're trying to isolate you to abuse you. Yes, we're taking the covers off, we're lifting up the rug, and we're pulling all of that stuff out from under the rug, because way too many times that persons are being abused emotionally and verbally. And let me say this too, in the church. Lord help me. Right in the church, from the pulpit to the door, persons are being abused emotionally and verbally. And they tend to think that, oh, because we're in the church and, they may be in leadership, that, oh, no, they can't. It's happening. When I tell you it's happening, it is happening. So I'm just telling you now, if they're abusing you verbally, emotionally, sexually, physically, right? Right? Financially, your marriage is in trouble. That's not even a potential. It's in trouble. If there's any type of abuse in your relationship, you're in trouble. It's not a warning, you're in trouble. Yes, Jill, you're in trouble. And if the person starts saying, why do you always got to go to your mom or your family, or why do you always got to talk to them on the phone? I don't want you talking to them. Why you want me to me? I'm like, first I'm like, why you want me talking to my mom? I need to talk to my mom. Why can't I talk to my cousin? Why can't I talk to Lavalette? Why? What's the problem? What's going on here? Once they start isolating you, they're just chipping. They're just chipping away at you so they can get you by yourself, so they can isolate you, so you'll be scared to go tell your family, right? Yes, marriage is honorable. Marriage is honorable, but if there's any kind of abuse, listen, call somebody. If you don't have a therapist, find one. Find one. If you don't have someone that you can talk to in leadership at your place of worship, that's gonna give you good advice, sound counsel, you can reach out to me. If you don't have that, Marcia Baker Ministries at gmail.com. Listen, our time is far spent. Amen. We went over a few minutes today because I just want to finish, the potential warning signs. And when we come back next week, we're gonna give you assistance in what to do when you see the warning signs. All right, what to do. Even though we've been going in and giving you a little bit, we want to give you yeah, they can call me Dr. Hope. Thank you. Right. And so we're going to give you now solutions on what to do when you see the warning signs. Amen. Listen, do me a favor, all of you that is on here, whether you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, do me a favor. I want you to share this broadcast out. Somebody needs to hear this session on tonight. Amen. Listen, if you have not yet joined our Thursday night community, I'm always putting a plug in for before you say I do. Listen, if you have not yet joined that community, please do so every Thursday night on Zoom. We're not on Facebook or YouTube with this, but we're on Zoom. All right. It's a Zoom only platform. And so I just want to invite you this Thursday. Minister Crystal and myself, we're going to be talking about, again, part 3 on teaching teaching my partner through love. You know, a lot of times we want to teach our partner stuff, but we don't know how to, right? So we're going to be teaching them through love. All right. So the Lord bless and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Join us again next Monday right here, Facebook and on YouTube, for prayer for marriages. Amen. God bless you. God keep you is our prayer. Love you all. Thanks for joining again on tonight. Have an awesome rest of your evening.